Hello, good morning. Thanks, Juan. Good morning, everybody. So I'm going to introduce the new working party model that have been established in the European Medicines Agency in the last 2 years. So if we go to the next slide, So in this introduction, I'm going to provide a background on the basis to reorganize our working party model. I'm going to explain this new model, and I'm going also to give an explanation of how all the experts of the European Union are interlinked together, and how is the interaction with the existing functions that we have for training on our network. So if we go to the next slide. In the last 2 years, the European Medicines Agency has revised the working party, how they are run and how they are structured. And this comes from some recommendations provided by our management board, who propose to have a new strategic oversight of our working parties model, which is mainly based on 5 domains, which are the quality, non-clinical, methodology, clinical and veterinary domains, which are the main governance structure of the model. These domains are heavily supported by the chairs of the working parties, chairs of SACs, which I will explain shortly, and also with a very active role as well of the chairs of the committees, the CHMP, the CBMP, and also the Scientific Advice Working Party as supportive structure. These working parties received the direction from these committees and the Scientific Advice Working Party. And if we go to the next slide, the model is mainly based on the preparation of strategic plans provided on a 3-year rolling basis, which are prepared at domain level, which are closely linked with the strategy of the European Medicines Regulatory Network and also our regulatory science strategy, so that we have a full alignment of the overall strategy into the operational and tactical and strategic role of the working parties. So the work plans should also not only cover the work that the working parties are doing, but also embed the unstructured offering of training and stakeholder engagement at the domain level, in line with these priorities and in line with this working plan. So this system not only coordinates the work, but also how the network is going to be trained and how there is going to be a formal engagement with stakeholders on a structured manner, so that we can better embed the input from stakeholders, not only at operational level, but also at a strategic level. If we can go to the next slide. What are the main benefits of this new model? As I mentioned, one of the main changes is the new domain governance, which is designed to deliver strategic, tactical, and operational goals that are mainly based at the domain level, but are also later translated to yearly work plans for the working parties. It is a system that is agile and future-proofed, because it's a system that is mainly based on expertise, but allows flexibility to adapt the working party models and creation of new structures linked to the evolution of science, new methodologies, and development of products, or any new emerging scientific or regulatory needs. It also wants to have a structured way of manage interactions with relevant stakeholders, mainly industry, learning societies, universities, and wants to include and make the best use of expertise through integrating all the European experts in the different disciplines on a domain in what we call the ESEX, the European Specialized Expert Communities, where we can have an optimal flow of information and management of knowledge through training and through dissemination of information. I will further explain more details in the next slides of these concepts. So what is the new structure of this working party operational model? If we go to the next slide, these 5 domains that I explained lay from the CHMP with also quite active input of the Scientific Advice Working Party or the CBMP committees. Both committees also have an interaction and in order to ensure alignment on priorities by the Scientific Coordination Board, which is a group that includes all head of committees of the European Medicines Agency and have regular meetings. And these 5 domains, as I mentioned, are based on the experts that belong to the European Specialized Expert Communities. If we go to the next slide, the architecture of the new model is based on different types of working parties. As I mentioned, we have the domain, which is mainly linked to governance. We have one type of working parties, which are called the operational expert groups, which I will further provide details afterwards, but their main work will be on product-related matters. So this structure of operational expert groups are temporary groups that will have to address certain product-related matters. The model is mainly sustained by the working parties, which really are responsible for drafting guidelines and also to constitute certain groups that are called drafting groups, which are mainly structures that will be working on a specific guideline. And as I mentioned, they are all substantiated from the communities where the training and knowledge sharing is taking place, which are the ESEX. So if we go to the next slide, the working parties are based on the principle on the best expertise, available expertise, and expertise that have a commitment to work on the working party. So are mainly expert with high profile, with proven expertise and experience in beyond the regulatory work, and that really have the time to work in the delivery of the working party plan. The nomination of members of the working parties are mainly based on the needs that are required for the working party, and they are appointed by the committee members. So there is a review of membership on a routine basis, and the working parties are chaired by the chair of the working parties, who have a key role in the domain governance, because they are the ones responsible to drive the strategic component of the working party, and they are the liaison with any engagement with stakeholders, industry, or with the network. If we go to the next slide. Operational expert groups are mainly temporary expert groups that provide scientific advice mainly on operational core business. They are normally constituted on an as-needed basis, and they are appointed by the EMA committees or the Scientific Advice Working Party upon request. This you may know in the clinical domain. You may have heard about the SAG, the Scientific Advisory Group. So Scientific Advisory Group are part of these operational expert groups. They are groups that normally address certain questions, certain scientific questions that are provided by CHMP, Scientific Advice Working Party, or CBMP in the case of veterinary products, and they can be put in any phase of the life cycle of a medicinal product in order to address a specific question. Other types of operational expert groups, for example, could be groups provided on a more long temporary basis in order to address certain needs, certain product needs. And one example of an operational expert group is the nitrosamines expert group that was constituted in order to address all the evaluation of nitrosamines in the medicinal products. So the expertise is of these operational expert groups come from the ESEX and can include also academic input as needed. And as I mentioned, these operational expert groups and temporary basis groups that are appointed by the CHMP members with the working parties. If we go to the next slide, another type of groups in the model and the temporary drafting groups, these structures are primarily constituted for the purpose of drafting a guideline. So normally these are volunteers that are volunteers supplemented with academic expertise, multidisciplinary expertise from the ESEX, and they are normally led by one coordinator, normally a working party member or a committee member that will lead this group that is mainly constituted to work on a specific guideline. The approval of these temporary drafting groups is done by the working party and at domain level, and there is a reporting on the scientific progress and at certain milestones to the domain and also to the working parties. Normally, the temporary drafting groups meet normally virtually, and the frequency is flexible according to the timelines and duration needed for the preparation of the guideline. And members belong to the ESEX and are appointed by the working party. If we go to the next slide. So here is the overview of the new operating model and the working parties. So as I mentioned, depending on based from the CHMP, we have 4 domains: quality, non-clinical, methodological, and clinical. Quality is constituted by the quality working party, biologics working party, and biosimilar working party. And there are at the moment 2 operational expert groups, one the quality innovation group and the formulation expert group. The non-clinical domain is mainly constituted by the non-clinical working party and the joint 3Rs that you will receive more information in the next presentations. And we have an operational expert group on nitrosamines, currently constituted. Methodology working party, so methodology domain, which mainly is composed by the methodology working party and some operational expert groups on biostatistics, modeling and simulation, and the clinical domain, which is composed by 7 working parties on the different therapeutic disciplines and the ad hoc scientific advisory group to address product-related matters. So this is the main constitution of the new working party model pending from the CHMP. If we go to the next slide. As I mentioned, the European Specialized Expert Community is the community with all experts belonging to a domain with a specific knowledge on a given area. So these communities are constituted by experts from the national competent authorities, experts from the CHMP, from SACs, academic organizations that are willing to contribute to our regulatory system, and the membership is by appointment by the committee, by nomination by the committees through the national competent authorities, and there is a confidential agreement that needs to be signed by all members in order to respect the confidentiality of all the information that is being shared, and all experts are included into an expert database that the agency hosts. We go to the next slide. So the ESEX have the ESSEX mainly have a big component of knowledge sharing and training, and so there is an agile system that strengthens these two aspects. So the ESSEC work very closely with the European Network Training Center, which is in charge to provide the support to deliver all the training plans to the network. And for the expectation is that, for example, for every new guideline that is developed, it will have an own training plan, so that all the new concepts or new information, new documents are really reached to all experts, and there is a wide understanding on any new document. And also the ESSEX is a platform to communicate and to raise awareness through any work plans or any important relevant matter. Also, ESSEX intends to promote the publication of guidelines or in editorials at public journals, in order to reach a specific audience beyond what it is intended with the guidelines. And one of the ESSEX that have already been activated and has been piloted is in the oncology domain, which has been constituted last year. So I think this is, if we go to the next slide, I'm open for any immediate question that we can have now at this level or later during the panel discussion. Thank you very much for your attention.